Hi, welcome to The Daily Well. My name is Rita Patel and I am a health coach and well-being strategist. So basically I support people around their health goals and envision what's possible for them and how to make it work in their lives. And before we get into today's show, I just wanted to give a little bit of history. This is our second episode on how The Daily Well came about. I am a board member at Common Ground, which is a very beloved agency organization here in Oakland County and Genesee County that provides crisis services. And their vision is and mission is to bring people from crisis to hope. So if you think about that, that's all about wellness. So in terms of that, what I have been helping to do there is bring wellness in terms of food and other aspects. So in doing all that work, so we decided to bring it to the public. So this is some of the results. So we're bringing it out to everybody else. So I hope you enjoy it and you benefit from it and it helps you with your overall wellness. So for today's show, for our first episode, we talked about food and how it affects the physical body and the mind and how it's all related. So we're going to continue on that theme today. And we're going to start today with more of like what the recommended guidelines are. Not the most exciting topic, but why are there recommended guidelines? And you know, there used to be a food pyramid and now it's called a My Plate. And the whole idea is just easier to understand and it's always changing because nutrition is a changing field. We're learning stuff every single day. So the guideline is about, in my opinion, quality. So it gives you ideas as to what are better choices, and given whatever your situation is, you make the most optimal choice. And so that information is really helpful. It makes you aware. So I'm going to show you, we've got the healthy eating plate. And so this is a little bit different from the My Plate that you'll see from the federal government. This one is, I like to use it because it's a little bit more objective. You don't have to worry about any special interest groups. So when you look at it, you see a plate and you see it divided into 4. And half of it is fruits and vegetables, most of it being vegetables. Then you got the other half, whole grains and healthy protein. And then you have a little bit with healthy oils and water, and then there's a missing piece, which I will talk about, and that's spices. So we're going to start with the water. What they're basically saying is you drink water most of the time, and if you're drinking other beverages, it could be tea or coffee, and with coffee with as little sugar as possible, and you limit your dairy and milk. The idea there is water is important. It's so important because we're made 70% of water, and there's going to be a whole other show on water and all the benefits of that and how else you can get it in your diet. So we have something to drink. And then the next section is whole grains. Whole grains are grains. They're just all different kinds of grains. There's so many different varieties. One type of grain is rice. And people generally think rice is one thing because the word rice is one word. But really there's 8,000 different types of varieties. So that's one grain. So there's all different kinds. And whole just means that as little as possible was done to it. So the bran is in there. It's the easiest way to tell is it's not white. So I have a few whole grains here. I'm going to take some out. So, here you go. So I'm going to put it, I don't know if you could tell, I have it in a bag here. It's brown rice. I took some in my hand. You know, they're tiny. But it's brown and it's not white, and it's because of that it's got it takes a little bit longer to cook. But that's like one type of whole grain. Another whole grain that a lot of people are familiar with is oats, and you can do a lot of different things with that too. So we'll move on to the next one, which is healthy protein. Now protein is, it's not a food. Protein is actually an aspect of food. It's a nutrient, and so there's protein actually in everything. But we think of protein as equaling meat. So on this plate, when it talks about protein, it also says that you could have beans, nuts, Fish, poultry, that's of course meat, and that has protein. But other things that have a lot of protein are like spinach has a lot of protein. When we go back to talk about grains have protein. People are eating a lot more quinoa these days. That's actually a seed, and it's got all the amino acids. Proteins are made of amino acids, so that's high in protein. So when you look at that half of the plate, it could be like beans and rice. So, and then we move on to the bottom part of the plate on the other side, and we got fruits. And that's the reason why that's smaller than vegetables is because of the sugar content. So if you're eating fruits, you want to eat a variety. Variety just means the easiest way to do it is by color. And you want to try to eat the whole fruit. And fruit juice doesn't count. And what that does is that you're getting all the different types of fiber. And what the fiber does is it helps slow down the digestion process, meaning like you're not going to get big sugar spikes. It goes through your body at a more even rate. And then the star of the healthy eating plate are the vegetables. And really, the more the better. You can't really eat too many of them, and you just want a variety. And potatoes and French fries don't generally count as vegetables, meaning you can eat the potatoes, but you don't want them to be the second half of your plate. You can have a few potatoes because that's just a type of vegetable. It's very starchy, and the whole grains, and especially if you're eating protein that's from beans, that's already a lot of starch. So there's so many different types of vegetables out there. And one of the things, especially the leafy green, the green vegetables do for you, it ranges from everything from improving your digestion and the bacteria in your body. Bacteria is very important for your digestion, to anti-inflammatory, helps prevent so many diseases, including chronic conditions and cancer. It's just, there's so much that you can get from it, and they're very, there's a lot of different ways to eat them that we're going to explore on the Daily Well and all the different episodes and how to make everything taste good. So the second to last thing is healthy oils. And what healthy oils means is you want to get as many unrefined oils as possible. So that includes even something like an avocado. An avocado also has fiber. It helps actually reduce cholesterol. You can do coconut oils. You can do nut oils. But it's kind of hard to do that all the time. So what you want to do is have more of that and less of the very refined vegetable oils. And the reason why is those vegetable oils they're heated and they're chemically processed. So it's not that, it comes from vegetables, so they're not inherently bad, but just the whole processing, you want to just reduce the amount of those and have more of the others. So olive oil, for example, is a good oil. One tip on olive oil, you just want to make sure that you check the date. If it's within the expiration date, so if it's within if the date is, let's say, 2014, that means it was within the last 2 years that the olives were picked, which means that it's more on the fresher side. And there's actually, I think, 700 types of olives, so the flavors are really going to vary, and it's actually much better to get smaller quantities and domestic, which means they didn't travel as far, it didn't take as long. They're local, they're fresher, the oil is fresher, it's not rancid. Now, the last thing that's not on the healthy eating plate, which is essential, is spices, because it's really just a whole nother food group where it's a source of more phytonutrients, and spices also help digest food. They give a lot of flavor, which is really important in enjoying food. Now, what do you do? Now, how does this work in real life? It's not like you're going to be eating a plate that looks like this all the time. So the idea is, rule of thumb: start where you're at, and increase the vegetable part. And the other thing is, you're not going to be cooking all the time. So what do you do? Like if you're eating out, so you can order like an extra side if you're actually at a sit-down place, and eat that first. So you're eating more of the vegetables, and you see how you feel, and maybe you eat a little bit less of the other stuff, or you don't have dessert, something like that. Or it's also not about like every time you eat or even the day. So you want to think about it more globally. So, you know, you think about it daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. The idea is to start where you're at and move closer to these types of proportions. And people always talk about portion size and serving size. What does that really mean? You want to eat so your stomach can digest the food. You don't want to be overeating, and you want to have variety, and you want to have more plant foods. So we got that down. So now with your stomach when it's not full is the size of your fist, and that's a normal stomach. And so when you're eating, if you take your hands and you go like this and then you cover it, that's how much space you have to fill the food, and fill your stomach. So what you want to do is just fill it 3/4 away with food. So it just gives you an idea how much you should be eating. So this is a lot of technical stuff, and we don't normally think, you know, healthy is fun and tasty, but I'm going to show you that it is. So when we come back, we're going to make really, really delicious dessert that fits in with the idea of the healthy eating plate.
When it comes to staying healthy and fit, eating more colorful fruits and vegetables every day really does matter.
Hi, so welcome back, and now we're at the segment where we actually get to make something delicious and easy. So when we talk about healthy food, and we just spent the first half of the show talking about the healthy plate and all the really things that are good for you, we don't necessarily associate it with dessert or something that tastes good. So I wanted to show you how to make a dessert that's really, really good, and it's easy. So what we're going to do today is make some brownies, and they're a little bit different than normal. We're going to be using, instead of whole wheat flour, we're going to use black beans. To some people that might seem a little different or odd, but if you think about it, beans, you know, they don't have a whole lot of flavor, and a lot of cultures, a lot of their desserts do come from beans. They use that instead of like a wheat flour or something else. Then we're going to use oats and cocoa and all of that, and as we go along, I will talk about the health benefits and how they tie into the healthy plate. So before we start, I'm going to go through the list of ingredients, and they are, what we're going to do is use 1.5 cups of black beans, which is basically a can of beans, 2 tablespoons or more, depending on how you like how chocolatey you like it, of cocoa powder, about 1/2 cup to 1 cup of quick cooking oats, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, about 1/3 to 3/4 cups of maple syrup, and that's real maple syrup, and that depends on how sweet you like it. We want 2 teaspoons of vanilla, or you can use almond extract, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1/4 cup of coconut oil. If you don't have coconut oil, or you don't want to use coconut oil or any other oil, you can use applesauce or banana. So we'll talk more about that as we go. All right, so didn't sound like a whole lot of stuff, and it's really basic. As you can see, I don't even have a mixing bowl here. So what I'm going to use, you can use a food processor, but I'm going to use a blender because I don't have a food processor. So I'm going to put most of my ingredients in here, blend it all up, then add the rest, and then just pour it into the baking dish and cook it for like 15-20 minutes. So we'll start with the black beans, and like I said, a lot of cultures use the beans as a base for their desserts, and it gives a lot of heartiness and a lot of fiber, and you know, the beans also have omega-3s, so they're really, really good for you. They give you a lot of protein. So what I did was, before the show started, I wiped off the top, and now I'm just going to open the can up. Okay, now what's really important is that you drain the beans and rinse them really well. So I'm just going to go over to the sink and do that right now. Okay. And why you want to do that is, I don't know if people know, but beans are actually cooked in those cans. So there's a little bit of extra starch and water in there, which you don't want. You just want to rinse that off. And it does affect the texture, so you want to make sure you do that. So I'm just going to put these in here now. All right, so we got the beans. Then we want some oats. So these are quick cooking oats, and you may have figured it out, but I didn't say it. These are gluten-free brownies also. So a lot of people are going gluten-free these days for various reasons. And so this is good for them. So because of that, I'm using gluten-free oats. Oats themselves are gluten-free, but sometimes they're processed in the same facility as wheat, so they might be contaminated. So that was a 1/4 cup of oats. I think I'm going to start out with 3/4 cup. And the more you add, all that happens is that it gets to be more of a cakier brownie as opposed to the really fudgy. So you can play around with it. You don't have to be too precise. I know when people think about baking, they think you have to measure everything really exact. I think you do, but it's I don't always, and I've noticed it just makes a difference in your preferences, not necessarily making the dish like all ruined or not. So I did 3/4 cup of oats, quick cooking oats there. Let's see. So then we want to add some maple syrup. I'm gonna probably do a 1/2 cup. So, and this is real maple syrup, and the reason why you want to get real is so you don't want any of the additives like high fructose corn syrup. Real maple syrup is also really high in calcium and iron. If you can get grade B that has a lot more nutrients. It's less refined, so of course it would have more rich nutrients. So I'm putting 1/2 cup in here and a little bit more because I like it sweet. So, all right. So you got the maple syrup in there. Now, today I'm going to use almond extract. It just gives a little slightly different flavor. You don't always have to use vanilla, but if you use vanilla, it is a spice that is really expensive, and it's actually a pod from a fruit. And let's see, I said 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So let's do, I'm going to do 1.5. That was the oven that just went off. I had preheated it to 350 degrees. Okay. So that was some almond extract. Now the vanilla, as I was saying, it's a very expensive spice, and they have found in some studies that it can help treat cancer, so which is really good news. So we got the vanilla. I'm going to put some baking powder in here. I'm going to do a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay. And then I'm going to do a 1/4 cup of the coconut oil. So here's my coconut oil. It's a pretty big bottle, but I use a lot of this. I use this as one of my main oils, and it's a very good oil. It helps reduce cholesterol. It's very it's an antibacterial. It's really great for your skin. Let's see. I need to get a spoon. And actually, coconut is a fruit. So you're getting a fruit in here. You got oat, which is insoluble and soluble fiber. You got the beans, which is fiber. So all really great stuff. And like I said, if you don't want to use the coconut oil, you can use applesauce, the same amount, 1/4 cup, or you can use banana, about the same amount. You could use like half a banana or a quarter of a banana depending on the size. And okay, so we got coconut oil, baking powder, we got the vanilla, got the maple syrup. I'm going to go ahead and add the salt, and I'm going to wait for the cocoa powder. I like to add that a little bit like after it's all pureed, and then we'll add chocolate chips, and that'll be it. So I'm going to put the lid on this and go to the blender. Okay. So what I'm going to need to do, because this is not a food processor, it puts the ingredients together a little bit different. I'm going to have to mix it up with a spoon and just help it along a little bit. So okay. And if you find that it has a hard time blending, you can add a little bit more water. So, because right now we have added none. So, okay. So, okay. So I think it's because of the amount of oats I added, because I want it to be a little bit cakey. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of water. Okay. All right. Use this to mix it up. Okay. Okay, so that's it. And I'm going to mix the rest by hand. So what I'm going to do is add the cocoa powder now. Alrighty. So here's the cocoa powder. And take about 2 tablespoons. You can also add a little bit of espresso powder at this point if you like that kind of coffee flavor, the richness of that in your brownies. And, oh, the salt. So you want a little bit of salt. Salt brings out the other flavors. There we go. Okay. I wish you could smell this, because you can smell the cocoa. It smells like real brownies. And I'm going to take my spatula and just mix it up. So if you can see a little bit, I don't know if you can get a close-up here. You can see how it looks like, you know, brownie batter from a box. And just going to mix it in there. And in a couple seconds, I'm going to go ahead and add some chocolate chips. You can add them in, or you can add them on top. You can also add some chopped nuts. You can also swirl in some like peanut butter or almond butter. And what's really great, what people don't know about cocoa or chocolate, is that it's actually a fruit. And it's a really, really amazing for your fruit. It was called, by the Aztec Indians, it was called the food of the gods, because it was that, like, when people think of chocolate, they get really happy, and there's a reason for that. You pay attention to what makes you feel good and what you enjoy. And with chocolate, with cocoa, it stimulates the brain, it reduces cholesterol, but it gets, like, eating just a little bit in your mouth increases your brain activity so much. And it's really, really helpful on a lot of fronts. And a lot of people think it's bad, and I think it's because they associate it with desserts that have a lot of sugar or cream. But the cocoa itself is fine. So if you make it like this, it's really, really, really good for you. And okay, Now again, since it's gluten-free brownies, I decided to get these Enjoy Life brand mini chocolate chips. So they're free of dairy, nuts, soy, and also definitely gluten. So you can, I'm just going to throw some in here. There's a little more, it doesn't hurt. Love the chocolate. So this dessert, the brownie cooked this way is not going to spike your blood sugar. It's actually very high protein, so it's going to get digested slowly, the high fiber. So it's really, really good in stabilizing, keeping your mood stable. As with a lot of other desserts, it spikes your blood sugar and then you kind of end up feeling a little sluggish and lousy afterwards. This won't do that. So I already have my baking dish here. It's a 9-inch baking dish. And I put tin foil on it. You can put parchment paper. The parchment paper, then you don't have to add any extra oil to make sure it doesn't stick. With the tin foil, it just makes cleanup easier, so that's why I do that. So, okay, so I'm going to pour it in here now. Okay. And what I'm going to do after I pour it in here is I'm going to add more chocolate chips on top. So, and if you did want to add the peanut butter or the almond butter, you can do this after you pour it in here and you can just swirl it in on top. And those nuts are, again, really healthy oils. They're really good for your brain, your digestive system, you know, but the most important thing, it's like you're going to enjoy eating it, so you're going to absorb those nutrients because it's going to taste so good. So, all right. All right, so we got it in here. So I don't know if you could see, but yeah, it's just like basic brownie batter. And I'm going to add a few more chocolate chips on top. And that's it. And then I'll put in the oven at 350 for 15 to 20 minutes and then take it out. And what I do after I take it out is I let it sit for a few minutes outside, and then I put it in the refrigerator before I cut it up, so it really sets. Otherwise it's a little gooey and you have to wait a lot longer, and I don't have the patience because I really like these and I want to eat them as soon as I can. Hi, so welcome back, and now the brownies have been cooked. I took them out, they've been cooled and cut, and here they are. They look amazing, and really that's what you should focus on when you're eating, is not all the stuff we talked about earlier in the show, but how great they look, how great they smell, and hopefully how great they taste. So do you want to come in, Carl, and try one? So, yeah. So here you go. They're very fudgy, and I'm going to try one too. So brownies were my favorite growing up, and since I'm gluten-free now, it's just amazing to... What do you think?
Very good.
So, as you can tell, it's not hard, and you can enjoy it and not feel guilty about it. So, thank you.
Orion Township Community Programs invites area families to the 4th Annual Growing Green Expo on Wednesday, March 20th from 1 to 7 p.m. Vendors will be stationed throughout the Orion Center offering information on green products, career opportunities, energy efficiency, greening your home, organic gardens, and parks and trails. Parking and admission is free to the public. That's the Growing Green Expo at the Orion Center, Wednesday, March 20th from 1 to 7 p.m. For more information, call 248-391-0304 extension 305 or visit oriontownship.org.
So thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I wish all of you could have tried the brownies, and but hopefully you'll go out and make them. And I look forward to you watching more of the episodes. If you want to contact me with any questions, you can email me at ritagpatel@gmail.com. Thanks so much. Have a great day.